Right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. We're here to talk about the Community Achievement Awards and how to make your nomination stand out. So, first of all, just by watching this, that means you are obviously an amazing community champion, a local legend, or a business that's being involved in the community and using your business operations as a power for good. So, I think to start with, we're all winners just for that alone. So I really want to thank you for being part of these awards processes. And because a lot of awards are about tooting your own horn, about showing how good you are. But that's not the case with these awards. This is actually about showcasing positive role models for the community. It's about being proud of the work we're doing that inspires others, that has an amazing message for bringing people together, for helping people. And typically, we're not good at promoting ourselves because we're just here to help. We're just here to do our part. So I'm going to help try and walk you through that tough process of, tooting your own horn because it's not easy and we're not built like that. And so what we find with the awards process is that we get so many incredible people that just can't quite put their story down on their nomination form. We know they're incredible. We talk to them, we hear their story, but it's hard to get that in the nomination form. So that's what we're about here today, to help your nomination stand out, to give it a chance to progress because we want to promote your story. We want to celebrate you. And it really is important to do so. So here's some of the topics that we'll cover today, and we'll try and shoot through pretty quickly. I don't want to take up too much of your time. We'll talk about why it's worth taking the time to submit. Just mentioned about time is very valuable, and it can be easy to think, I just don't have the time to do this. Don't have the time to put the information in and get it done. So I'll tell you why it's worth doing it. We'll go over some practical tips from our team, from the awards team. We've been doing this for a number of years now. I think our least experienced person has been with us for 4 years now, and I've been with the team for 14 years. So we've got a lot of experience. We've done heaps of different awards programs. So we've got lots of tips to help you out. We're going to go over what a judge looks for. It's all well and good for our team to tell you, what to put in the nomination form, but we have nothing to do with the judging. At the end of the day, the judges themselves who review and score the applications. So we've asked them what they're looking for, and that way it will help you out too. And at the end, we'll go over a chance for some questions if you like. So firstly, why it's worth taking the time to submit. So I kind of touched on this at the start. We want to share your story. And if you don't go ahead and submit the nomination, finish it off, answer the questions and submit it, then we can't do that. We can't share your story. We do it a number of different ways. So firstly, through social media. If you're following the Community Achievement Awards on Facebook or Instagram, then you might have noticed that we've started doing some nominee snapshots. This is where people have submitted their nomination ahead of the deadline, and it gives us a chance to kind of give them a shout out to celebrate them and congratulate them on their nomination. So when you do submit, you'll get asked if you want to be part of that. We ask your permission for that. And we hope you'll say yes, because it's a chance for us to congratulate you and to let your supporters know that you've been nominated so they can get behind you and support you as well. We also send out we send out media releases to your local paper. That's why we do ask for your local newspaper, because we find that local papers really do want to support and feature stories on their locals. So it's a really nice way that we can, again, be sharing your story. The next point is it's an interesting one that sometimes when you're filling out an award entry, you wouldn't think that it's a chance to reflect and a chance to, to really sit in those moments of wins you've had. But time and time again, we do hear feedback from people that it's one of the best parts of being involved in the Community Achievement Awards is having that chance to reflect on the journey you've had, the ups and downs. It is a roller coaster sometimes, but to acknowledge that, you've had a lot of wins, celebrate those wins. You've had challenges as well, but those challenges have been overcome or they're being overcome, and that's something to be really proud of as well. So yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback at the end of this process. Did it help you reflect back? And sometimes people also say that it really, inspires them to finish off the year really strong. That chance to reflect and to think about what's been happening. There's also a lot of networking and growth opportunities from the awards. The most prominent one is from the gala dinner, which will be coming up towards the end of the year at Shangri-La Hotel in Sydney, which is an amazing event. And it brings together so many awesome community champions, so many awesome community and business leaders from around the state, from ACT as well, together. And that's a really inspirational and humbling room to be in. It's really cool. And there's a lot of chances to connect with your sponsor partners, for your category or from the other categories with the judges. So that is a really cool event. But beyond that as well, just seeing the stories, if you follow our socials, you'll see the stories of everyone being nominated and people will resonate with you. And it's such an easy way then to network and reach out to them if there's things that you're aligned with and ways that you could work together. Had some really cool stories of companies and organizations that have partnered together from their involvement in the awards, which is very, very cool. Lastly, you've got to be in it to win it. If you don't hit that submit button, then unfortunately you're not in with the chance to be the winner. And the number of times I've had $1 for every time someone said, I did not expect to win this award. I'd have at least $10 to $20. It's not very much, but it happens a lot. So, even if you think, look, I've been nominated by an amazing volunteer. That's really sweet. I'm not going to win this award, but I'll take the chance to put it in. You never know. You could progress through to the next stage of being a semi-finalist. That's a great achievement. You could then progress through to the stage of being a finalist. And once you're a finalist, you have a great chance of being a winner. And it's not about necessarily winning an award. I hope that some of the things I've talked about already will show you that there's a lot of great benefit and value just from being part of it. But again, it is nice to win, and you never know what could happen. Our winners are featured on a TV ad that goes across the Seven network, which is great exposure and great, credibility for what you're doing. And there's, as I said before, a lot of growth opportunities from it too. All right, moving on to some of the practical tips from our awards team. So these are the people behind the scenes making it all happen. We're working in and day out with nominees. So hopefully some of these tips will be helpful for you. The first one is to ensure your name is listed how you want to be referred to. And it says here on the certificate, but also in those media releases I mentioned, on our social media snapshots at the awards night. So Jason, sorry to pick on you, but you said Super T has been nominated. If someone has nominated you, they may have capitalized the wrong letter. They may have done super space T. If your brand is Super T, all one word, only a capital S, you want to make sure that that's how it's listed in the nomination form. Super simple tip, but it's one that's really common. And then unfortunately, the media release goes to the paper. They write a story. It's referred to wrong. Do you know what I mean? The flow-on effects from there. So just check how your name's listed and just be careful if it's an individual nomination and go by a maiden name, or there's any number of different ways of doing it. Just check how that's referred to and make sure it's how you like to be publicly acknowledged. Another common one is for businesses, they might have proprietary limited in their official name, but they don't want that, as their public name, that kind of thing. Right, so the next one, this is probably one of our most common questions, is people say, I'm just not sure how to write the answers. I'm not comfortable about writing about myself. I don't want to say, I achieved great results for my community. I did A, I did B. So they prefer to write in the third person. That's okay. The number one tip I can give you is just to write your answers in the way you feel comfortable, that feels natural to you, because that's going to represent you better. I would say the only comment I have on first person versus third person is just to keep it consistent throughout. We did have one person who wasn't sure how to do it, and they did their nomination twice, once in the first person and once in the third person. So then we had to help them choose which one was the best one. So just pick one and stick with that. And I think a sneaky little tip here is to just inject your personality. If you are not a super formal person, you don't speak formally normally in your day-to-day life, and then you try and write in a very, very formal way, it's going to come across pretty weird, I do think, and you won't kind of show the type of person that you are, and that will be a negative impact on your nomination. So, if you're a funny person, you like to make jokes, or you write in a certain way, you have a bit of humor, that's totally okay to put that in the nomination. In fact, it could help it to stand out more to a judge, because they'll be reading so many applications. All of a sudden, this one stands out with a bit of brightness, a bit of humor, or whatever it might be, and it could, make it a bit more memorable. So don't feel like you have to write like you're submitting a government grant application, if that makes sense. This one is really good, and I think a couple of people I spoke to at the start about what category they're in. Is it the right category? One way around that could be entering into 2 categories. So that's within the terms and conditions, you can enter up to 2 categories, a maximum of 2 categories. So if you enter 3, then we have to ask you to pick 2 to move forward with. But you can enter 2 categories, and it can be a really good way just to, if you're not sure which one is best, go into both. Another one that we sometimes encourage is if there's an organization and then one clear kind of strong leader of that organization, it could be worth nominating the individual as a leader and the organization as a group. Again, it just helps to, going back to that, you've got to be in it to win it. Now you're in it twice. So that's the tip from our team. We hate seeing when a judge gives the feedback that, hey, this nomination is outstanding, it's just in the wrong category. Unfortunately, it can't progress. So that's probably, from our perspective, the main reason we suggest that as well. The last one is, and again, this is based on feedback that we've received from nominees, is that we suggest pay it forward and nominate someone else. People have often told us that, oh, I'm not so comfortable being nominated. It's so nice they've nominated me, but I don't know about it. And again, you've got to be in it to win it. So we say, enter it anyway. Pass that on to someone else, and then that way you can take on the role of supporter and not just be in the uncomfortable role of nominee. So a lot of people have said that they love going through the process with someone else. So go ahead and pay it forward and nominate someone else as well. And then you can support each other through the process. And when one person says, I don't want to submit, you can remind them that it's worth taking the time. So onto this next section, we're talking about what the judges are looking for. So what we've done here is we've gone out, asked a bunch of different judges, and not just from New South Wales as well. We do run these awards in other states. We've asked them too, what stands out for you? What are you looking for in a nomination? What gets someone from a good nomination into a finalist level nomination? And so we've collated their responses and given you the most common answers back, the ones that are striking a chord with our judges. So the first one is to provide at least one referee. So if you've seen the nomination form, there's the section near the top with all the contact details, your contact details, the nominator. There's also a spot for 2 referees to be listed. Now, most people leave these blank, which is fine. It's not compulsory. But by adding at least one referee, what you're showing the judges is that there's someone else external to your organization or to you as an individual who's vouching for you and saying, yep, this person is doing a great job. They are a community achiever. So if you can pick someone who's knowledgeable of you, but perhaps in some kind of senior position, then obviously that's going to speak volumes, and our judges are able to contact referees too. So it's always a good idea to, if not ask permission, at least let them know you've listed them as a referee, and so that they're aware of that in case they are contacted. And a way to take that tip from a really, really good tip to a great tip is, once you've contacted that referee, and 99 out of 100 times they'll be ecstatic to support you, is to ask them, would you be comfortable to write a short reference or testimonial or letter of support for your nomination? This is now not just showing the judges, okay, there's someone there who's happy to support them, that can vouch for them. It's actually physically putting that recommendation in front of them and giving the judges, I guess, a lot of comfort there to say, all right, so these written answers are really good, plus this referee is supporting their nomination. That speaks a lot. And you can use the attachment section, which segues beautifully into our next point about using the attachments as evidence. So that's a great example of it. The written questions in the nomination form are the bulk of what's being judged. That's the vast majority of what the judges are reading through and scoring. The attachment section is used to back up those written answers. So a referee letter of support is going to show, hey, what you're writing here can be verified by someone else. Now, other ways you can use those attachments is to show photos. And we get a lot of nominations where someone will send 10 lovely photos of them, like a nice headshot, them at a party or something. That's great, but is that showing evidence of the written answers? It's not. So if in your nomination you have attended a community event and spoken at the event, then a photo of you up on the stage in front of everyone speaking is going to be great evidence of you doing that. If you have, if you're in the Business for Good award, for example, and you've got, something showcasing the volunteering day that you and your staff had, that photo is going to be great evidence to back up what you've written. So these are the kind of things that I'm talking about. Hopefully you can think of an example that applies to your nomination, because I'm using very generic examples. Any going beyond photos, PDF documents, again, if you're a business, annual report, that kind of thing. If you're an organization, sorry, not for profit, you'll have your report there as well. You might like to attach that. Again, it's just showing that what you're doing is having impact. It's out there in the community, and it's giving either a visual or another way of data to back up what you're writing. So I hope that makes sense, guys. This one we get from the judges a lot, referring to the category description. And it comes back to what I said a little earlier about the judge saying, look, it's a great nomination, just doesn't fit the category. So if you refer back to your category description, what the award category is all about, and refer to that into your answers, you're going to really strongly link yourself to the category. So in the judge's eyes, you are now going to be perfect fit for this category because you're referring back to it. You're linking your answers to what the category description is all about. And again, cementing yourself as a good fit for that category. Sometimes, just like a job application, there'll be key selection criteria that you want to refer to in your application. It's the exact same way for this. So if you find keywords in the category description, include them in your answers. And again, it really strengthens your application. So this next one, to be fair, I put a bit of mayo, showcase your purpose and impact, because a lot of different answers from judges that were saying the same thing, and it boils down to this: showcasing what you're about, but importantly, the purpose part is why you're doing it. So we can't assume that the judges know why you started your charity organization, why your business is so invested in impacting the community, not just the bottom line. So tell the judges why you're doing it, what the purpose is behind it, and then importantly, this is like in baseball when you load the bases, talking about why you're doing it and what you're doing, and then the impact part is that final hit the home run. What impact is the work having? So, for example, we've started our not-for-profit because, very personal reason, this happened in my life. I want to help others. This is what we're doing. We're going into these communities and delivering these programs. The impact is we had over 500 participants last year. Of those, 485 submitted 5-star review, said that here's the testimonials from, you know what I mean? So we're delivering a rounded story, why we're doing it, what we're doing, and what the impacts were. So I hope that makes sense for you. Like I said, I kind of cobbled together so many different ways of saying that from the different judges into that kind of line. And I think that's what really makes a nomination stand out. This last one is about being specific where you can, and that's really less exciting, but it's about like not using so many abbreviations or jargons in the technical field that judges don't understand. Be specific and explain it so that they know what you're talking about. Our judges are from many different fields. They're experts in their fields. They're community and corporate leaders, but we have to assume that they don't know what your work is about. So be specific, explain it, and use real figures if you can. One example is we had this amazing volunteer, and in their nomination they just said, oh yeah, I just volunteer in my community. And then we found out later they actually, on top of working full-time, were volunteering 20 hours a week. They've been doing that for 10 straight years. And all of a sudden that becomes a lot more impressive than, oh yeah, I just volunteer in the community. So be specific and include the details on what you're doing. All right, that's the end of my spiel to you. So I hope some of that was helpful and made sense. And I'd love it if you had any questions that you either about your nomination or in general the award, something I haven't covered, or maybe something that I didn't cover in enough detail. And while we're giving people a chance to think of that, these are here the different award categories that we've got on offer. I'll take a minute to quickly highlight this one. The Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman has sponsored a category from last year, but we didn't know it was going to be coming back this year. So they've jumped on board. There's a new ombudsman in place, and they've got this category, which is fantastic. The Small Business Community Ally Award. It's actually for not-for-profits, not for businesses. It's for not-for-profit organizations that are supporting small businesses. So this is a new award category we've just included. So if you know someone, or if that fits you as well, that could be your second category. Jason, looks like you got a question. Go ahead. Take yourself off mute when you're
Thanks,
ready.
Josh. And thanks for, going through everything. It's, it starts to make a lot more sense, and I really appreciate you going through all that. Mate, one of the questions I have is, we have a lot of video footage that we can, such as interviews with parents. We've got demonstrations of the events that we host and the collaborations. If we were just to have that as a YouTube link presented on an attachment, would that be sufficient?
Yeah, that's a really good way to do it, because the attachments section has a limit of file size. So you can enter a link as part of the question, the written question answer. It will, it'll hyperlink so they can go straight to it. If it's really specific to one of the question answers that you're putting in, I'd probably put it there just so it's really right in front of them. And you could even say, like, to further showcase the impact of this initiative, you can see this video here we put together for this week. You know what I mean? That really leads the judges to it. If you've got a number of videos you want to show, then what you suggested is perfect. Pop them in a Word document, upload the Word document. And one thing I didn't mention is, when you attach it and then you save the nomination, so it's important to do it in that order. Attach it first, upload it, save the nomination, then scroll back down to the bottom. You can actually enter a description of the attachment.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can say, links to YouTube videos. You think of a description because you know what they are.
Yep.
That way, again, it's not just a blank Word document. You're kind of really leading the judge to saying, hey, you want to watch this because it's going to add a lot to our nomination.
Great. And I noticed that you suggested that we save every 10 minutes when we're filling out the form so that we don't lose any progress.
Yes. So the only thing is, we just heard from some people, they walked away to get a cup of tea, whatever it is, phone rings, to get distracted. All of a sudden, it's been an hour. So if the form is left idle for too long, it can time out. So we just don't want people to lose so we're over conservative, if that makes sense. So there's two options. Either, as you said, just keep saving it. Definitely recommend to do that. It saves the data in our back end. Alternatively, if you need time to think about it, then you might write it in a Word document and copy and paste it across. So they're the two ways. The form is fine to be open. You can work on it and go, but just definitely save it as you go.
Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.
With the Josh, with the other, like, nominating other organizations or people, is there a limit to how many you can do?
No, there's no limit. And in fact, if we haven't told you already, we often reward those who make lots of nominations. So for those, we have some community partners who would have loved to sponsor the awards, but it's just not quite in their budget. And so what we do offer with them is, hey, nominate 10 people in the awards, and we'll bring you on as a supporting community partner at no cost. So we kind of try and reward people who do go above and beyond and nominate heaps of those in the community. So if that's of interest, let us know, and we can help you with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, especially for people watching the recording, and you don't get a chance to ask a question, our email address is CAA, Community Achievement Awards, @awardsaustralia.com. Just pop that in the chat for those on the call, and flick through your questions. We're more than happy to answer any. Sometimes there's really specific questions about someone's nomination that they prefer to ask us one-on-one. So deadline's coming up soon, 12th of August. I think it's one of those things, the longer you leave it, the bigger it seems. My suggestion is, let's get it done early. And if you submit nice and early, then we have a chance to feature you on our socials early too. Everyone, typically submits right in the deadline, and then we don't have enough time to do all our shout outs of our nominees. So the earlier the better. But otherwise, happy nominating everyone, and look forward to seeing those submissions come in and reading about them. It's the best part of our job, is getting to read all the stories as they come in and just be blown away by everything that's happening in the community.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later. Hopefully see you at the gala dinner down the track. Bye.
Bye.